You did two things right here when you were what you were talking about. There's a lot of whataboutism in what you're talking about. There's like, white men can get away with certain things that niggas can't get away with and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, okay, there may be a double standard, and that's something that fucking sucks, but it is a reality. There's that. The other thing that's happened is our understanding and vocabulary has changed and expanded as time has gone on for people to understand that something that might have been a very uncomfortable and experience that they didn't necessarily have the words to describe, as time goes on and you have time to process, and then also your vocabulary and understanding expands, then you are able to actually vocalize what happened to you. So listen, I agree. It can be very uncomfortable for somebody who thinks that an experience that they had with another person was on the up and up and completely consensual and stuff like that, only to find out that they did not view it that way. But the reality of the situation is, at that point, it is up to that person to listen to what that other person's account was, because they might have had blinders on to the situation or not really understood that what they were doing was, for lack of a better word, wrong. Like, I can't tell you how many times I ended up in that. When it came to being a woman in this industry in the late 90s, early 2000s, it wasn't just accepted that shit was going to happen to you. It was expected. And it was also expected that you keep your fucking mouth shut. It was expected that if you said anything, nobody was going to listen to you. And so you just found a way to survive. Some women served other women up on a platter like fucking tadpoles. Better you than me. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was survival of the fucking fittest. And that's the reality. But now things have drastically changed. Our concept as a society as to what consent means has drastically changed. And it has forced people to come to terms with the fact that their behavior may not have always been on the up and up with how they've engaged with other folks.
So I had to post this clip because this clip was actually posted on X by Reagan Gomez Preston. If anyone remembers her from back in the day, Reagan Gomez Preston, she's an actress. She started off in the business as a child actress. Now she's a grown woman. I'm pretty sure she's still active, probably in the business, whether it's behind the scenes or in front of the camera, but I'm pretty sure she's doing very well. But the unfortunate part about Hollywood is a lot of Hollywood is just hyper liberal for my taste. And trust me, when I say liberal, I consider myself to be pretty liberal. I'm a mixed bag. I can go, when it comes to financials and it comes to fiscal responsibility and entrepreneurship, I'm very conservative. I lean conservative, should I say. I do lean conservative, but when it comes to, social justice issues, equal rights issues, and things of that nature, I consider myself to be liberal. However, I don't go so far Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who's a horrible human being, by the way, in my personal opinion. That's just my personal opinion. Very contradictory, and I just did a piece on her and Bernie Sanders in one of my podcasts. And, I don't operate in that capacity where I am so far left that I'm just going to allow everything. Oh, little babies, if you're 3 years old and you consider yourself to be a boy, but you're in a girl's body, go ahead and have an operation. I don't lean like that. But let's just get back to this video right here. So the problem that I have, and what I cut out, and just to kind of frame this is Melyssa Ford responding to a guy that's on this show. And I'm assuming that this is Joe Budden's show. There's another guy on the show, and he was making the point that white males commit similar things that you've seen R. Kelly do, that you've seen Sean Combs do, or when they call himself Diddy, Daddy. I don't know what the hell this fool wants to call himself. So I'm calling him by his government name, which is Sean Combs. But white individuals commit the same thing, but you don't see a lot of black people, particularly when we're talking about black women at this point in time, because you're talking about, we're getting into this misogyny and this whole toxic masculinity that women now want to point out because we're in the age of feminism. You don't see them go hard in the paint on Harvey Weinstein or individuals of that capacity. And even the woman, no one really talked about the woman. I forget her name, but the woman that was helping Harvey Weinstein, and she was bringing in the young ladies. But let me just stay on topic and deal with Melyssa Ford. So Melyssa Ford is basically rebutting this guy and basically stating, and here's the two flaws that she stated in her argument. Number one, she's stating that what happened 20 years ago, it may have been all right. It may have been, the woman may have had some kind of conflicting or uncomfortable feeling about what happened or what was going to happen. And then after she's processed it over a week, a month, a year, a decade, 2 decades, 20 years later, now she's realizing, because now in 2024, this happened, whatever happened probably happened 2004. And now in 2024, people are saying that's not right. This isn't right. That behavior is unacceptable. Now people want to retroactively go back and apply what their behavior was in the past and go after people for things that happened 20, 30, and 40 years ago. And I don't buy that. I consider that to be very harmful and very damaging. And this is why I'm going to give you this is why I'm going to say this. Number one, you don't see police officers, well, I shouldn't say police officers, I should say the justice system. The justice system doesn't retroactively, and this is actually working in reverse in the example that I'm going to give. There are a lot of people locked up still for marijuana crimes or for non-violent drug offenses, and individuals are still locked up over that. I'm specifically going to look at marijuana because back in the day, marijuana was illegal. It was classified by the DEA as a Schedule 1, Schedule 2. I don't know what schedules the DEA uses, but it was classified as an illegal substance. Now the DEA is declassifying it or rescheduling, reclassifying it. We know from the government's perspective, from the federal level, marijuana is still illegal. But from the state's perspective, when you go to a lot of left-leaning or liberal states, such as, I think you look at New York, DC, Maryland, but once you get to DC and Maryland, it stops there. And then once you go to Virginia, it becomes illegal again. So you can go to DC, Maryland and have recreational marijuana. But as soon as you cross over the line, which is right there, the line is like you're a hop, skip, and a jump. You can literally walk to Virginia. You can literally walk from DC to Virginia. You can walk from Maryland to Virginia. You got to cross a bridge, but you can walk across the bridge. People do it every day. And over in Virginia from their state level, they classify marijuana as still, it's not, I don't think it's criminal, but you can't purchase it for recreational use. You can't go into a dispensary. You have to have a medical card in order to use their dispensary. DC and Maryland, you can walk right in. But I'm basically pointing that out to say this. You don't see the court system saying, oh, since marijuana is no longer a criminal, it's no longer illegal, we need to free all of the people that were in jail and set them free because marijuana is no longer illegal. No, they're still in jail because during that time period, it was illegal to do. So I'm using that point because that point works in reverse to her argument is that you don't get to say, well, 1 minute we were, this guy coerced me into having intimate relations with him. And, I kind of didn't want to do it, but I did it anyway because he was smooth talking me and he did this. Or maybe we were doing one particular act and then he wanted me to do something else. He wanted to finish in a particular type of way. And I kind of wasn't, after we did it, I felt kind of dirty and bad. But I went home and now 20 years later, I'm looking back at it and he abused me. You don't get to do that. You don't get to do that. If you don't file those complaints right then and there on the spot, and this is just my personal opinion, then I don't think the courts should be taking up your case. Here's another example because these type of things only apply to women. And this is why we say women claim that they're the most abused and the system doesn't work for them, but they have the most laws that protect them than anyone else. So I'm going to give this relatively quick example. People abuse people all the time. But even before I get to that, let me just back up real quick. When you look at, like I said, the only laws that don't help is when it comes to race. When it comes to a female feeling as though she was violated, there's no statute of limitation. Prime example would be Bill Cosby, and even you can look at Sean Combs. You can look at even Harvey Weinstein. There's no statute of limitation on a woman saying, oh, I was taken advantage of sexually. She can go way back in time, 30 years ago, and then immediately, just by her making that claim, you see a lot of NFL players losing their jobs. You see a lot of media analysts losing their job. You see entrepreneurs stepping down, giving up their companies just because someone made an accusation against them. They don't even allow the the court process to work out. Due process doesn't even get completed before this individual winds up giving up all of their assets and their livelihood. Only women have that power. But not just, I shouldn't say only women, but women have that power. When you look at Jews have the same power. Let them see someone who they thought worked at a Nazi camp. That person could even just been a clerk typist. Just the only thing that they did in that Nazi job is file paperwork. And guess what's going to happen to that person if that person is 98 years old, still walking around, and if Jewish person recognizes that person, they're going to take that person to jail. They're going to try him for war crimes or her for war crimes, and then they're going to deal with that person accordingly. More than less likely, they'll go to jail or they'll get executed, or they may just pass away while in jail because those people should be old by now if they're still alive, if they're still around. But when it comes to race, when it comes to a black person saying, you know what, on my job, I was discriminated against. Well, when did this happen, sir? It happened in 1997. You know what the people are going to say? Statute of limitations run out on that. You can't. What are you doing? That was so long ago, and now you're going to get all of these questions. You know, all of the questions that women don't want asked of them when they're filing their claim, when they just want people to say, just believe me. When I tell you something, just believe me on faith. Don't question what I say. A black person, when it's a racially issue, and this could be a black female putting this on the table. Black female could be saying, I was discriminated against. I was fired on my job for wearing my hair, for wearing my natural hair. They fired me. No one ever goes back and said, well, you know what? That was so wrong. Because when it comes to race, people are tired of hearing black people complain. And so this similar case with this thing, you cannot start reaching back 20 years. And also, let me just add this to you too. Because when you're having intimate encounters with people, when you're having intimate relations with individuals, things can get very tricky. I'm just going to provide my personal experience on this because I've been in situations, and women, if you're listening, please listen. I've been in situations where, and the guys, if you're listening, let me know if you've been through the same situation. When you're dealing with a female, and I literally had, I think, two females that was kind of like this. I was having a moment with one female, and while we're doing certain things, you know, if you try to tell her, or, you know, I had asked basically, I'm trying to be respectful while I'm basically saying what I'm saying because I don't like to put my business out in the street. But basically, I'm doing one particular act. And then I asked her because I wanted to do something else. And so I basically asked her while we were in the moment, yeah, can we do this or can you do that? And then she just kind of, right then and there, her facial expression changed. She went from being in the moment to being like, you just messed the moment up. And then I was like, well, what's going on? She was just like, you just messed the moment up. And I was like, well, what happened? And then she was just like, don't stop with all the questions and asking, can you do this and ask, just do it. And that's what I got. It was just like, she was just like, just do it. And this is where I'm talking about when you get the conflict between a modern woman wanting men to quote unquote evolve into these modern, I don't know what type of men that you would consider them to be, but they want us to be these modern, emotionally connected, sensitive type of men. And then in the next breath, they want a real man. They want a traditional man. So, I was trying to be respectful and, ask for permission before I did something, but she was just wanted me to take control and be like, no. Because the women that I've typically dealt with, they want a man to be in control. They don't want a man being, indecisive and having to ask permission to do things. This is just the type of women that I've dealt with. And maybe I've just dealt with some strange women. But right in that moment, she was just like, you messed the moment up. And I've had another female that kind of did the same thing. She was like, stop asking to do stuff, just do it. And it doesn't necessarily have to be in the bedroom. It could be you just asking her, particular questions. She's just like, just do it. Because women just kind of want a man to be a leader. So I'm saying that to say this. When men are having interactions with the woman, sometimes you're going to, if you've kind of had that encounter that I had, you're not going to ask. You're just going to kind of do it in the moment, and then you're going to let her push back. She'll push back on you. Like if you try to do something, a woman is, if you take something out of her comfort zone, she more or less, at least in my experience, she'll let you know, no, I'm not doing that. No, I'm not doing this. There was one time I did do one thing, and then she let me know afterwards. She was like, I felt disrespected. What you did, I felt as though that was kind of disrespectful. And she did. She let me know, and I apologized for it. Matter of fact, this was the same girl that told me don't ask to do things, just do it. And then there was one other time when I did something. She was like, that was disrespectful. And she was just like, I was pissed off with you about that. And then we moved forward. I apologized about it. We moved forward. And we're still cool to this day. We're just friends now. But we're still cool to this day. But I'm basically saying that to say, if there's some things that you're uncomfortable with, it is up for you to kind of speak up about that type of stuff. So that's why I want to I'm not trying to discount anything that Melyssa Ford is totally saying. I'm just providing a different perspective and a different look from, I guess, my point of view, which could possibly other men's points of view. The second thing that Melyssa Ford says in this that I really I find very kind of disturbing is that she's basically saying that when you're in the entertainment business, when you're in this business, and the business that I'm assuming that she's talking about, she could be talking about the entertainment business as a whole, but I can only assume that she's talking, or more specifically from her experience, is that she was a video vixen. Everybody knows that Melyssa Ford was a video model. That's what she was known for. She appeared in a lot of videos. So she was a video vixen. She also was in, a lot of magazine spreads, like I think King, XXL, and things of that nature. May even have been in Vibe. I don't know if she tried to do, I think at one point in time she did try to do music. I'm not totally sure on that, but I thought at one point in time she tried to do music. I don't know if it was rapping or singing, but I thought she did try to dip her toe into that pool. But she basically said that women, it's not only accepted, but expected that women, women have come to not only accept certain behavior in the music business, but it's expected, and they expect to have to go through that. This is very troubling because no one should expect or accept anything that they're not comfortable with. If you're expecting or if you're accepting something, then that means that you have already weighed the cost benefits of whatever it is that you're about to get into, and you consider whatever it is advantageous for you to move forward. So what I mean by that is this. If you're just in the case of using this particular example, if you're a female and you want to be in the video business, you want to be a video vixen, a video model. If somebody told you, well, girl, in order to become a video model, you got to get on that casting couch and you got to do this person and that person, and you have to do this, that, and the third. If you already know that, or even if you don't know that, even if you walk in blind and somebody says, we would like to hire you for this modeling gig, but there's one thing that you must do and you have to do this. If it goes against your morals and principles, you don't have to accept that. And that's why I get so hot with this woman, Tandy Newton. And I'm not going to call her Tandiwe. She wants to now be called Tandiwe Newton because this whole rise in now she wants to be black. She's married to a white man. She don't appear in any video after she got her start in a black movie. Now she doesn't do anything with a black man on television. She plays lovers to all white people. She has a white husband. And she's been going by Tandy for since she came into the business. And now she's basically let us know a couple of years back, I think during the whole George Floyd movement and doing all the hyper stuff, she came out and said that white people forced her to use their name. She didn't say force. I'm paraphrasing here, but she was like she was forced to use the name Tandy because her name Tandiwe was too ethnic and too black, and so she felt as though that she had to become Tandy Newton, and now she wants to go by Tandiwe. That's a bunch of bullcrap. No, you mean to tell me that people forced you to change your name? Once again, I'll say it like this. She chose that. She could have pushed back. Listen to, I've heard so many people. Who's the lady that played Florida Evans on Good Times? Esther Roll. She pushed back and said, no, this is what I want to do. I just did a video on it. She pushed back and said, no, you're not going to make me a single mother on Good Times. Because Good Times was supposed to be a show about a single mother with, 3 kids. And she said, no, I grew up, people need to see a nuclear family. They need to see a black man in this household. And she fought for that. There's certain roles that Denzel Washington said that he refused to do. So no one can make you compromise what you are. As Robert Townsend said, there's always work at the post office. Go watch Hollywood Shuffle. He got up there and started shucking and jiving and bucking his butt out and sticking his hips out. And then he said, I can't do this. And he went and did commercials for the post office. And then you have to figure out, you have to say, well, how bad do you want to be in the music business? If you want to be in the music business that bad, because you can always make independent music. Or you can just say, well, look, the music business isn't for me. If they want me to sell my body, I'm not going to do it. And then that's when you do something else. Or you just do it on a smaller level. You just say, well, you know what? I'm just going to stick to doing small theater and just work the Chitlin circuit because I want to be an actress that bad that this is what I'll do. But no one's forcing you to get into business. But what these women are doing is compromising themselves for a paycheck. They're basically saying, yeah, I don't want to sleep with these people for money, but I got to do it because I got to get paid. And then once they get paid, now they want to go and sue because of some actions that they willingly participated in. You cannot do that. You just cannot do that. That's like me accepting a job as a street sweeper and accepting the fact that I have to do 5 hours of overtime every day, me getting paid and then coming back 20 years later and trying to sue to say that they forced me to work overtime. No one forced me to do anything. I was given what the circumstances was. I have the right, I have the freedom to walk off of my job. So these arguments that she's making is just, it's mind blowing that people just want to change their mind at the last minute. And this is what I mean. This is what I say about the liberal mindset. This is the same thing that I'm talking about when I talk about these people that are demanding that their student loans get written off. No one forced you to take out a student loan just because you listen to, and people they do not want to admit the fact that Barack Obama, a black man who was also a Democrat, was the one who recommended that they go back to school. It was the Democrats that pushed people to go back and get educated and learn a new trade, and everyone went out, got jobs, and everyone went out to go to school and get master's degrees and PhDs to become better than everyone else. And now they're saddled with debt. And now they want to say, oh, I was tricked. The government forced me to go to school. Y'all are obligated to write my debt off. Everyone's a victim. There are very rarely true victims in this country. And also, just kind of going back to the other point when people start talking about, because the Melissa Ford, and not just her, it's a bunch of guys out here simping for these women too. I hate that word too, simping, but I got to use it in this context because it actually applies. But listen, none of these women, I even said with the R. Kelly thing, no, just because somebody is 13 and 14, just because their age is a certain age, you should not be outraged at certain things that were done. And I'm just going to be honest with you about that because I don't see all of y'all people that are defending the girls that willfully slept with R. Kelly. These young girls willfully slept with R. Kelly and they willfully participated in the trifling things that they were doing because all of them are deviants. These are the same people, mind you, these groups of people are very small. It's a very small pool. What I mean by that is you're going to find that if you looked at all of the 13, 14, 15-year-old boys and girls throughout this country, regardless of race, whatever, most 90+% of those individuals are fantastic young people. They do what they're supposed to do. But you're always going to have small pockets of those people who think they're grown, who think they're gangsters, who think they're hoes and freaks, who gravitate towards foolishness. Those kids are just like grown adults. The same thing when you look in your neighborhoods. I guarantee you, if you go to Chicago, most of the people in Chicago are outstanding citizens, and then you got probably about 3% of those individuals, probably even less than that, probably about 1% of those individuals who are committing all of the murders, committing all of the crimes, committing all of the carjackings. They're doing all of this stuff. It's a very small pocket. So what I'm basically saying, I'm bringing that up to say this. The same people who are defending these young girls from R. Kelly, well, them girls are young. They didn't know what they were doing. They didn't. They look like they knew what they were doing to me. And if y'all are saying that, y'all must don't know what y'all were like when y'all were 13. Because I know what I was like when I was 13. And I know what the girls that I was messing with was like when they were 13. They were just as trifling as myself. And some people are just fast. People are fast. And when you have that same energy trying to protect these young girls from R. Kelly and saying that they didn't know what they were doing, well, what about these young girls? And not just young girls, but they're young boys. When you look across this country and you see all of these kids running into Gucci stores and breaking glasses and, breaking the glasses in the Gucci store and snatching up all of the Gucci purses and shoes and stuff. When you look at people getting shot in Apple iPhone stores, when you look at young girls carjacking, we had this happen in DC a few years ago. They carjacked, I think it was a Middle Eastern man or Indian man, carted two females, two young girls, 13 and 14, I do believe, carjacked a man, took his car. I think he was still in the back seat or he was hanging on to the car for some reason. And they drove it away, flipped the car over several times. He passed away. When the police tried to arrest them and let them know that the guy died, they were worried about losing their phone because apparently their phone got lost when the car flipped up. And the girl she was more worried that she lost her phone than worried about that she just took a man's life over his car. So but you don't hear women come out and speaking on this type of stuff. You don't hear them speaking out against women that are pinning babies on men and having men thrown in jail for child support over children that aren't theirs. You don't hear these women, these same women that want to fight so hard and go hard in the paint and saying that everything is men's fault. You don't hear them bringing up the other side to say, okay, women, we need to do better too. These are things that we have to clean up and we have to distance ourselves from these women and we have to rebuke this behavior in order to protect the real women in the movement that we're trying to have. If they were doing that, you wouldn't have the pushback that you have from men. You honestly would not, because then we would say, okay, we can see that these feminists here recognize that there are certain actions that are intolerable and that there are certain actions that there are certain things that they're fighting for, and there are certain things that in the women's culture that they are rebuking and that they are against. You don't see that. All you see is the women go radio silent when it comes to, women having bad behavior. When you see women getting locked up for dating and basically coercing young students, 30 something year old women coercing 15 and 16-year-old boys, students, to have intimate relations with them, you don't see these women anywhere. And if they do come out, they'll blame it on the boy. Well, it's his fault. Well, his daddy. That goes to show you the patriarchy raised them. And then that's when you get all of this other stuff. At some point in time, we have to do better as a society. And the biggest problem that I have with feminism is just running blind. It's the same thing that with all women's issues. They want to be victims when they want to be victims, but at the same time they're boss chicks and are better than men, stronger than men. They can do anything. They proclaim how much better they are than men, how much more money they make than men, how much more homes they own than men. They claim all of this stuff to make themselves seem superior, but then at the same time they're helpless victims. Well, which one is it? Tell me, which one is it? Because I know some women want to say, well, it's true. Both can be true at the same time. You cannot be a boss chick and be a victim and somebody coerced you into doing something trifling. If you are, then you need to be fired from your job, because then you have poor judgment and you're weak-minded. You can't, both the two cannot coexist in the same space. They just cannot. But yet you want to be treated as bosses. So these are the only concerns that we have. It's so for Melyssa, and then too, getting back to the whole racial aspect of it. Once again, it's amazing how the women, as soon as Puffy does something wrong, as soon as R. Kelly does something wrong, and any other black person does something wrong, it's the talk of the town. But as soon as a white male does something wrong, you don't hear anything about it. Now, mind you, maybe that's because the white man was victimizing white women, and I get it. If that's the case, I understand, because, like, I'll tell you, I don't really pay attention to what goes on in white communities, what they do in their community. So we kind of tend to stick in black spaces. Well, what about when the white man went on a date on the dating app with the black girl, and he unalived her and dismembered her in his basement after she willingly went over there on the first night? You don't hear once again, black men will say this. All we hear is black women getting online proclaiming their disdain for black men and how much they hate black men and how much they don't want to date black men, how much they should abort black babies. And you hear all of this talk online and how they trying to look for a white man and where the white man at and how to love a white man, how to get a white man. This is what you need to do to get a white man. They write books on these subjects. And then as soon as white men do them wrong, you don't hear them come out and rebuke white behavior. You don't hear them rebuke Tamar Braxton's husband's behavior. You don't hear them rebuke, like I told you, the white guy that dismembered the black woman. You don't hear them rebuke him. You don't hear the white. I think there was some black girl that was on The Bachelorette. Now she's getting white guy's taking alimony from her. Halle Berry's paying alimony. Garcelle Bouvier has been cheated on several times by every white man that she's married. You do not hear black women come out and start saying these men are just trash. The only thing they do is look to black men and point out the flaws in black men. And I'm not trying to say that black men don't have their flaws. I'm not even saying Sean Combs has his flaws, because I know people probably listen to the videos that I made about Sean Combs, and I'll stand by what I said in regards to grown adults doing what they do. I don't see a problem with that. But he has he has made his own bed. And you can ask Sean. You can ask Sean if he's made his own bed, and you can ask Mace if he's made his own bed. Anytime you want to start going and doing your own people dirty, because you see this a lot with black people. Black people are eager to fight one another, and as soon as the white man do them wrong, they have no response. They don't have that same ghetto response for the white man. They really don't. You can see 50 Cent go back and forth with Ja Rule all day long. You can see them get into fights in studios, stabbing each other up in studios, shooting at each other on the streets. I'm not making this stuff up. And as soon as the white man takes money from them and embezzles their money or doesn't pay them what they're owed, they don't have that same energy. You don't see the stabbings come out. You don't see them waiting for them in front of their house and shooting up the white man's car or his home. They don't do any of that. The only thing they do is get on the radio and say, it's unfortunate. I'm talking to my lawyer right now and see if me and my lawyer can work this out and get our money. You can't do that. If you're gonna have the same, if you're gonna have that energy for me or for your people that you can shoot up their house, you can go ahead and shoot up the white man's house. All I'm saying is be consistent. And the same thing I'm saying here is with Melyssa Ford. Be consistent. If you're going to talk about what black men do and how black men have done you dirty, have that same energy for white men. And also to stop digging in the past and stop making your actions of what you chose to do in the past and then 20 years later deciding that you were a victim. Do you know how many girls I've slept with? And this is literal. I'm being honest about this. And I'm pretty sure, fellas, if you can agree with me, please drop a comment in the comment. Women, if you agree, because women, you're not immune from this too. You know how many people I've slept with and then after, because, when you're in that moment or you're feeling some type of way, like, you've been like, dang, it's been a couple of days. I haven't had a little release in a minute. You're looking for a little intimacy and then you may run across something. And literally, one time I literally ran across a female. I was over another female's house and she was a friend of mine, good friend of mine. So we were just friends. She had one of her buddies over. So me and the buddy was downstairs. My friend went upstairs. She was upstairs doing something. Me and this girl, she left us downstairs. And me and the girl was downstairs joking around, laughing. I don't know what we were laughing about, but we was laughing, joking around. Next thing you know, we're in the middle of doing what we were doing. Right there in the living room, friends upstairs in her bedroom, I think she was on the phone talking to her friend or talking to somebody. I don't know. But me and the girl doing something. It didn't last long. It probably lasted maybe 7 minutes. I'm not going to lie. I wasn't long at all. But then once you're done, I thought to myself, because when you're feeling in that moment and you have those urges, you're not thinking straight. But then once you kind of have that release, then you're like, man, why did I do this? Man. And you feel just dirty. You feel wrong. You feel kind of disgusted with yourself. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. Maybe I've been there. It's like, man, why did I do that? I got a problem. Then you start thinking, man, I got a problem. Then you start thinking, man, I need to check myself into something. You just go through that and then you're like, dang, I did it. And the girl, don't get it twisted. She was a nice looking female. Very nice looking female. It was just, man, I don't know this girl. And luckily I had protection with me, so I did use that. But it was just kind of like, why did I do this? Why did I do this? And you just get into that moment. And maybe that's just me, but I've been there and I've done that not just once. I've done that several times. Like, why did I sleep with that girl? Or why? And then not even just why did I sleep with? Why did I do that? Like, there were certain things. Like, why did I do that with her? And sometimes you just process things. So, but with females, it seems as though when they have those type of quote unquote regrets, they want to just file a lawsuit. Like, oh my God, I feel dirty. I shouldn't have done that. Let me go. That wasn't right. He took advantage of me. People take advantage of people. I've had females take advantage of me. I've had people, and more or less likely when a female takes it, listen, females, and I've been saying this for a long time. Men are going to take advantage of females sexually. Women are going to take advantage of men financially. Men are going to manipulate women for their bodies. Women are going to manipulate men for their resources. It happens all the time. Like I told you, y'all can chronicle my dating. Like if you go back and check my channels of what I've been talking about, trying to date at this age, 46 years of age, you'll hear me talking. And women are just taking advantage of men. There was one Asian woman, and this is the thing, women get the gloat about them taking it. But men don't have the luxury of being. This is, like I said, one of the other advantages of being a woman. Women get to literally brag about taking advantage of men. You don't get to see men bragging and boasting and writing articles like, yeah, I just banged a different woman every single day for 365 days. I haven't had to pay for a piece of tail in 365 days. They all just come over to the house. They bring me food. I bang them out and they leave. And then I don't call them anymore because I'm just that type of. You don't see those articles written for men. At least I don't. But what you see, there was an Asian woman, I think in New York City. She said that she didn't want to buy food, so she went on a date every day for 365 days. I think that's about right. And she's probably exaggerating about that. It couldn't have been every day. If it is, then she's a fantastic person. There was another woman who wrote something similar. Then there was another woman who bragged that she hasn't paid for Netflix in 7 years because she went on one date with one man. He gave her his Netflix password and she's had Netflix ever since. I don't make this stuff up. So once again, people use people. You have to sometimes just take your licks and move forward, but women don't do that. What they do is they get vindictive. They file claims that somebody has abused them, whether it's now you add financial abuse. Now women are claiming that they're financially abused. What that's about, I have no idea. But I mean, I know I have an idea about it, but I just don't agree with it. But these are the times that we're living in. And then you wonder why the dating market is so bad. It's because you have these type of mindsets where people can think that just because things didn't work out in their favor, they can retroactively levy a claim of sexual assault against someone or financial abuse, sexual abuse, physical abuse, emotional abuse. We're just doing too much in society. And I think we need to stop. But this is the Political Brown Kid. This is all I have to say on this topic. Definitely leave your comments in the comment section. Also hit the like and subscribe button. I'm out of here.